till date and till the NEP, the new education policy, okay, how it has been moved, the teacher must know. Otherwise, what will happen? Simply prepare something and goes to the class. He will not be having the overall perspective, overall idea how the higher education is in India and how it is there in the entire globe. So that is how these 20 minutes will. So the evolution of the higher education sector in India. Higher education system plays an important role in the country's overall development. This statement is a very generic statement. Overall development of the country and contribution to the higher education, we have been thinking, and several researchers, others are requested to mute themselves. Uh, Please mute themselves. Several researchers point out this aspect in different dimensions, but there are so many limitations also to give more budget, to allocate more budget to the higher education. All this depends on the vision of the planners. So within that framework, how higher education can contribute for the country's overall development. Indian higher education system is the third largest in the world. May I request the participants to please mute, or Anil, will you please help to mute all? Mr. Anil, there are some disturbances. Mr. Anil,
Anil or Viru Garu? Hello. Okay, sir, I'll make a call to him.
can we do that from our end? Uma madam, please see.
No, sir. Host only can make that.
Okay, let Aruna be the host. She is attending this. No point, no. From afternoon onwards, let Aruna be the host so that they can control muting and unmuting.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, so I request the participants, please mute yourself. Okay, so the Indian higher education system is the third largest in the world. Why I say in terms of the number of institutions, number of universities, this is the third largest. And the role of higher educational institutes such as colleges, universities in the present time is to provide quality education, research, etc., to empower the youth for self-sustainability. Look back to the history of this education. The historical education in India was deep rooted in religion and Vedic studies, covering wide range of subjects. They had the grammar, mathematics, medicine, astrology, logic, commerce, and many more areas of studies are there in the Vedic historical education in India. Buddhist learning was also large based on the Vedic studies, such as Takshashila, Nalanda attracted a large number of learners from far off places also. The theme of higher knowledge and higher education was fashioned in India by the ancient rishis and sages in the Vedic age itself. So the early Gurukul system flourished in the Vedic and Upanishad period, but a huge university came up to be set up at Takshashila in the 6th century BC, and two other universities, namely Nalanda and Vikramshila, were established in the 4th and 5th centuries AD respectively. They are taken up from historic information. So this clearly indicates that the university or higher education system is there directly from 6th century BC in India. But during the Vedic period, we have the Gurukulas, ashrams were there. So what is this Gurukula? The centers of learning in the ancient India were located far away from the cities and the towns, and the learners lived with and learned with the gurus in ashrams. This is a very usual ancient practice of learning. So the parents drop their children in the ashram, in the Gurukula, and the gurus continuously teach them, and the children also will be there directly with the guru, spending 24/7. So they learn not only by simple teaching, they learn by the observation also from their guru. So it represents the most ancient culture, the glory and eminence of the Hindu culture. So Vedic age ceases to exist after 600 BC. It is safer to presume that the Vedic age started from unknown time to roughly about 600 BC, after which Buddhist sage started and lasted till about 600 AD. So Vedic education was imparted to the students to achieve lofty ideals of life. So this is all like learning by the experience of their guru. So they learn from the guru, and after some time, the parents will come and the teacher, the guru from the Gurukula or ashram says, yes, your son has learned all the required things. And the children will be taken away from there. This is the Vedic period, the process of learning. Pre-Indian independence period, if you look at the British in 1857 introduced the system of European higher education in India by establishing the universities at Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras. English also became the medium of instruction at the higher education level. The British education in India was established with an objective to produce English educated manpower to serve the large British administration. So the idea was so simple that if the people in India are trained with the communication of English, they can be useful in the British administration, they can be employed. This was the idea with which they established the universities at Bombay, Calcutta, and Madras during the period 1857. Then when post independence, when India became independent, it has only 20 universities and 500 colleges located in different parts of the country. It enrolled around over a little 1 person per 1,000 of population in the higher education. You see how the enrollment ratio is. For every 1,000, only one student is coming to the higher education. Participation of women was limited, and those who graduated annually were few in number. So in the post-independence period, higher education has expanded fast, and it is mostly public in nature. So there were public institutions which have come up, and in developing countries like India, higher education occupies an important role in the nation building process and in the economic development. So the government of India took upon itself the responsibility of its expansion and growth. They started setting up more and more higher education institutions. Education has been considered as one of the very important domain in our national life. Education held a very important key for the development and progress in every aspect of our existence to eradicate such prevailing systems in the pre-independence era. So many commissions were set up to propose the recommendations to make a change in the education system. So post-independence, people thought how to give more access to the children for higher education. So if more access is given, more children can get graduated. So this is the idea. So that is the reason why several commissions were set up. During the year 1948, Radhakrishnan Commission on the university education was set up. It is the first commission during the post-independence. And in the year 1953, UGC University Grants Commission, and later in 1964, Kothari Commission on Education. So many education commissions have come up. The first educational commission of 1948 after independence. So it was appointed with a basic idea to examine the educational condition of India and to provide the recommendations to improve the ailing situation of education. How higher education can be improved for India. This is the basic point. So this commission was chaired by Dr. S. Radhakrishnan. The main recommendations given by the commission were on 2 points. Point number 1 is financing to education sector should be the responsibility of both central and the state governments. Even today we have been following the same thing to provide funding to the education. So it is a concurrent subject as per the recommendations of Radhakrishnan. It is a concurrent subject of both state and central governments, and it is the responsibility of both center as well as the state to fund for education. Universities should be established with the consent of the central government on the recommendation of the University Grants Commission. UGC should give the approval or the recommendation, and the central government can or the state government can establish the universities. Some other recommendations were also made by the commission, like redefining the goals and standards of education, courses, curriculum, funding of educational institutions, faculty and their job condition, how the faculty should be there, what is their role, and how the jobs should be provided as a faculty in the university, etc. have been provided by this Radhakrishnan Commission. So it outlined the goals of university. So what a university should do to foster the kind of leadership in all walks of life by helping the individuals developing their potential. So an individual who takes admission into the university must be helped to become a leader. This is the main goal. This is the main goal. Any student who is joining a university or a higher educational institution, he must be provided sufficient help to become a leader in all walks of life. To provide society with competent men and women trained in all professions. So if a trained person comes out of a higher educational institution, naturally the society improves. The society improves. So the students should come out of a higher education institution as a cultivated individual or endowed with a sense of social purpose. They should feel that they are getting some education and they are becoming a graduate coming out of a higher education or a university to do something to the university. This is the another goal, to strive to promote equality and social justice and to reduce the social and cultural differences through the diffusion of education. So if a university or a higher education institution is established, naturally the Radhakrishnan Commission felt that there could be good social justice, because till independence we know very well that there are so many parities among the society in terms of the culture, in terms of the academic standards, in terms of the social standards, in terms of the cultural standards. So providing a good social justice. This is another goal of the university, to foster in the teachers and the students and through them in the society generally attitudes and values needed for developing the good life in the individual and the society. The individual should feel that he is leading a good life, and hence the society also should take up this. So to bring the universities closer to the community through the extension of knowledge and its application to the problem solving. Even today, this is a very important topic. When you look at the university, universities should not simply limit themselves to provide good education and continuing the research. No, it should reach to the community, maybe in terms of certain extension activities for providing knowledge to the society. Also, what are the societal problems? How to solve these societal problems by the university? This is very, very important goal. So based on its recommendations, the UGC University Grants Commission was constituted as an apex body on higher education in the year 1953 by an act of the parliament. So UGC started functioning from then onwards based on the recommendations of the Radhakrishnan Commission. Then during 1965, there is NCERT, National Council of Education, Research and Training. So what is this commission stated? This council emphasized mainly on the financing of education, particularly in the field of higher education. How higher education should be financed? Is it the state subject? Is it the central subject? Is it the concurrent subject? And how much percentage of the total GDP must be allocated for the growth of this higher education, etc., has been recommended by this NCERT. It is stated that educational financing had been a major trouble in the improvement of higher education. Unless educational institutions are financed sufficiently, the growth of these institutions is not possible, and higher education cannot be improved in the country. So it also mentioned that India had not been spending sizable amount in the GNP, gross national product, on financing of education like other developing countries are doing. So this is way back in 1965. It has addressed this problem that the contribution towards the higher education has been very, very limited. Indian higher education system is not only large but also the most complex one. As we have seen, we are dealing with so many differences in terms of the societal differences, in terms of the cultural differences, in terms of the financial differences of the public, etc. And hence Indian higher education system is not only a large but also very complex one. 1966 Kothari Commission has come into place. So the Kothari Commission on Education emphasized the importance of education in the social and economic development of the country. How it can contribute? The commission strongly argued in favor of the large investment in education. They clearly mentioned, Kothari Commission clearly mentioned one point, that the present state of investment on higher education is very, very limited. it becomes very, very difficult for the higher education to develop in the country unless huge amounts are invested. The Kothari Commission noted that would accord the highest priority to education and allocate the largest proportion of the GNP possible to it. The commission suggested 6% of the national income should be spent on education. It was felt a large investment in education was necessary to ensure equity in educational attainment between socio-economic groups in the economy. The new education policy 1986, considering all-round development of the country, the structure of education policy was enacted. Education is not to be considered within four walls of the school. This is the main theme that they have taken up. Education is not to be considered within the four walls of the school where the teacher is using a blackboard and a textbook and teaching something in the classroom. Teaching should not be limited to the curriculum, but it is a source of developing the national unity, cultural preservation, and indication of moral, social, and ethical values. From then onwards, the teacher's perspective also started changing. It cannot be limited only to the classroom, it cannot be limited only to the curriculum, but it should be in a position to develop the entire student community, the youth. So education policy provides a sound basis to a national progress and role of education, national system of education, equality, women education, education of scheduled castes, education for tribes, education for backward classes, and adult education are the main features in the national education policy during the year 1986. Then revised the national policy of education during the year 1992. So in the July 1991, Central Advisory Board of Education appointed a committee on this national policy of education 1986 under the chairmanship of Sri Janardhan Reddy, the then Chief Minister of the state of Andhra Pradesh. 6 other education ministers belonging to major political parties and 8 educationists were the members of this committee. So the committee reviewed the national policy on education 1986, taking into consideration the report of Acharya Ramurthy Committee, known as the National Policy of Education Review Committee, NPERC, and other relevant developments since 1986. So the policy provides new dimension to the education, such as distance education through open universities. In fact, till such time we were not having open universities. Indira Gandhi National Open University has been established for this purpose at the center during 1992 recommendations. So similarly, some states also have started their own open universities. So establishment of rural universities, technical and management education, innovation, research and development, organizing the new educational programs, rationalization of educational activities and process, evaluation, status of teachers, and women education, creating means for it are some of the new dimensions proposed by the Janardhan Reddy Committee. Then during 1994, NAAC has started National Assessment and Accreditation Council. Till now we have been looking at our institute, our university has been accredited by NAAC with A plus, A plus plus or B plus and so on. So this NAAC is another autonomous body established by the UGC to assess and accord the accreditation to the institutions of higher education in the country. It is an outcome of the recommendations of this National Policy on Education 1986, which laid special emphasis on upholding the quality of higher education in India. So it was felt that if any institution, if all the facilities are good, naturally the students who are coming out or the graduates who are coming out from the institution must be better employable. This is the idea. So the NAAC started assessing and according the accreditation to the institutions and universities, and hence NAAC was established during the year 1994. So to address the issues of quality, the National Policy on Education 1986 and the Plan of Action 1992 advocated the establishment of independent national accreditation bodies also. So NBA, consequently, NAAC was established in 1994 with its headquarters at Bangalore. NBA also was there under AICT. So National Knowledge Commission, NKC, this is during 2005. So Knowledge Commission, NKC, was constituted in the year 2005 to prepare a blueprint of blueprint for reforming our knowledge related to the institutions and infrastructure, which would enable India to meet the challenges of the future. To take its mandate forward, the Commission focused on 5 key aspects: enhancing the knowledge, strengthening the institutions, then creating a world-class environment for creation of knowledge, and promoting the applications of knowledge for sustained and inclusive growth, and using the knowledge applications in efficient delivery of public services. So NKC mainly looked at, and they have given 5 major aspects. Ishpal Committee during 2009, the committee to advise on the renovation and regeneration of higher education submitted its report to the Union Minister of Education on June 23, 2009. Given the widespread concerns about the current status and trends in the higher education system, the report is very timely. Then National Commission for Higher Education and Research Bill, this was during 2010, an act to provide for the determination, coordination and maintenance standards in and promotion of the higher education and research, including the university education, technical and professional education other than the agricultural and medical education. For that purpose, to establish the National Commission for Higher Education and Research. So this is the bill during 2010. So actually this has promoted the autonomy of higher education also. So if the institution grows by providing good autonomy, the institution actually can prove itself. This is the basic idea which has been proposed. That is how UGC recommends for the institutions to become autonomous. So if autonomous institution is there, they have a lot of flexibility in terms of designing their own curriculum, and they can move better and better. Then during 2012, all of us may be knowing RUSA, Rakshaya Uchattar Shiksha Abhiyan. So based on the recommendations of Central Advisory Board for the Education on University Reforms, a new centrally sponsored scheme named RUSA has been envisioned during the 12th plan for incentivization of the state governments for improving the higher education. What is this incentivization? It provides funding. It provides funding for a better institute to become the best institute, for a good institute to become a better institute. So this is the basic idea of this RUSA. So the key objectives of RUSA are to improve access, equity and quality in higher education through a planned development of higher education at the state level by creating academic institutions that are self-reliant in terms of quality management, have a greater inclination towards research, and provides students with education that is relevant to them and to the nation as a whole. So the institute or university should provide education which is relevant to the individual. The primary components of this RUSA include creation of new institutions, expansion of existing institutions, infrastructural upgradation, establishing the such as state higher education councils, accreditation agencies and sectoral affiliation, academic examination reforms, etc. are under RUSA. So we have come up to 2012. From Vedic age, India has achieved the gross enrollment ratio. By 2012, we were having 18.8% in higher education. Recent higher education surveys have documented 3 aspects. One is the quantitative expansion has not always led to quality enhancement. This is a very serious observation which has been documented. If you are providing good access to education to all the people by increasing the GER, that doesn't mean that the quality is getting enhanced. In fact, it has been observed that in certain specific cases it is deteriorating also. Second, employability of engineering graduates ranges between 20% to 40%, and for the arts and science it is only 10%. The yardstick for deciding the quantum of funds for the states and institutions comprise the norms that reflect the performance in key result areas like providing access to education, equity and excellence. So the trends in higher education is that we know that it is playing a very important role. Also, it has been found now that we have many institutions, many universities. We have seen about 1,000 universities are there now. So we should have the inclusiveness, we should have the access for education, but at the same time we cannot compromise on quality of education. So the higher education and economic development both are interlinked. So the initiatives should be taken in this regard to build up such highly qualified manpower which helps in maintaining the level of growth and the development of the country. The scope of higher education is not only restricted to the bachelor's or master's, it further includes vocational and professional qualifications also. That is how the new education policy 2020 has come up, keeping this point, the vocational and the professional qualification must be there. So the time now is to modernize our education system so that our country can get much more technically graduated people which can help our country to a developed stage. So if you see the status as indicated, 1,000 universities are there, 50 central universities, state universities, deemed universities, private universities, institutes under state legislature act, and 155 institutes of national importance. And we have other institutions include about 52,627 colleges. They may be government degree colleges, private colleges, standalone institutions, or PG research institutes. All these are there during the year 2020. So what is happening? We have more universities providing the access. Immediate next question is, where is the quality? How to improve the quality in these universities and institutions? Universities and institutions. Some of the colleges may be autonomous, some of the colleges may be non-autonomous, but in either case, however, the degree is awarded by in the name of the university only rather than directly in the college. Kasturi Rangan Committee 2020 this is the new educational policy which has brought up so many reforms. The Kasturi Rangan Committee. Let us see a small video related to the Kasturi Rangan Committee's recommendations which have been presented to the cabinet very recently.
And Madam Anita Agarwal, the Secretary from the Ministry of HRD. मंत्री जी से अनुरोध कर
आज प्रधानमंत्री
Yeah, may I know whether the speech is audible?
Sir, just make it as full screen, sir.
If I make it as a full screen, I have a doubt whether the speech also is audible or not.
Sir, you can enable your laptop audio, sir. It might be sir.
You just tell me. I'm just opening now. You just tell me whether it is audible or not.
बैठक हुई और 21वीं सदी के एक नई शिक्षा नीति को मंजूरी दी गई जो बेहद महत्वपूर्ण है.
The audio is very low, sir.
Audio is low. Okay. Okay.
34 साल से
Now
शिक्षा नीति में परिवर्तन हो चुका है और इसलिए आज का ये जो
Yeah, we can hear, sir. Barely,
okay, good.
प्रकाश जी आपको बड़े परिवर्तन है. There was Secondary Education Commission followed by
Yeah.
Kothari Commission, and Kothari Commission was the one which led to the formulation of the National Policy on Education in 1968. Now from 68 to 86, the same policy continued. 86, there was the new policy, the NPE, National Policy on Education 86. उसका संशोधन बहुत सीमित रूप से 1992 में 1992 it was amended, but actually it is the 86 policy which had been continuing till date, that is for last 34 years. सरकार ने दो समितियां बनाई, एक TSR सुब्रमण्यम की समिति जिसने मई 2016 में अपना प्रतिवेदन दिया था, और उसके बाद डॉक्टर के कस्तूरी रंगन जो प्रसिद्ध वैज्ञानिक हैं, इसरो में रह चुके हैं, चेयरमैन थे स्पेस कमीशन के, विभिन्न इंस्टीट्यूट्स के वो चांसलर हैं, बोर्ड ऑफ गवर्नर्स के डायरेक्टर हैं, शिक्षा से उनका जुड़ाव है और शिक्षक और अन्य स्कूल शिक्षा, उच्च शिक्षा दोनों से जुड़े हुए जो बड़े वैज्ञानिक हैं या एकेडमिक हैं, उनकी कमेटी बनेगी। कमेटी के डिटेल अंतिम स्लाइड में मैं दूंगा, कुछ जानकारी भी उसके बारे में आपको उपलब्ध कराऊंगा। नेक्स्ट। एक महत्वपूर्ण बात यह है कि सरकार के जो निर्देश हैं उसके आलोक में एक व्यापक कंसल्टेशन किया गया। इट हैज बीन वाइडली कंसल्टेड। जस्ट टू गिव एन आइडिया, थ्रू माईगॉव प्लेटफॉर्म we approached all the 2.5 lakh gram panchayats for their suggestion. Then when the draft committee report of Dr. Kasturi Rangan's draft national education policy was presented, we got it translated into 22 languages. Again, there were widespread consultations. There was education dialogue with honorable members of parliament. There was a special meeting of Central Advisory Board of Education on 21st of September last year. There was also a special meeting, Parliamentary Committee on Human Resources had taken a special meeting on 7th of November. So there has been wide consultation not only with the governments, state governments, with central ministries, state governments, with the academia, but also the involvement of the common people. लोगों से राय ली गई कि आप अपनी शिक्षा नीति में क्या देखना चाहते हैं और इस के आधार पे जो शिक्षा नीति उसके बड़े रिफॉर्म्स हैं उसमें उच्च शिक्षा में हम 2035 तक % ग्रॉस एनरोलमेंट रेशियो तक पहुंचेंगे और उसके लिए होलिस्टिक एजुकेशन की नई व्यवस्था लाई जा रही है जिसका सबसे बड़ा अंग है मल्टीपल एंट्री एंड एग्जिट। आज की व्यवस्था में यदि 4 साल इंजीनियरिंग पढ़ने के बाद या 6 सेमेस्टर पढ़ने के बाद किसी कारणवश मैं आगे नहीं पढ़ सकता हूं, तो मेरे पास कोई उपाय नहीं है, मैं आउट ऑफ दिस सिस्टम हो जाता हूं। मल्टीपल एंट्री एंड एग्जिट सिस्टम में ये रहेगा कि 1 साल के बाद सर्टिफिकेट, 2 साल के बाद डिप्लोमा, 3 या 4 साल के बाद डिग्री, यानी और मल्टीपल एंट्री थ्रू एकेडमिक बैंक ऑफ क्रेडिट
I'm sorry.
स्कूल शिक्षा, उच्च शिक्षा दोनों से थ्रू माईगॉव प्लेटफॉर्म we approached all the 2.5 lakh gram panchayats for their suggestion. Then when the draft committee report of Dr. Kasturi Rangan's draft national education policy was presented, we got it translated into 22 languages. Again, there were widespread consultations. There was education dialogue with honorable members of parliament. A special meeting of Central Advisory Board of Education on 21st of September last year. There was also a special meeting, Parliamentary Standing Committee on Human Resources had taken a special meeting on 7th of November. So there has been wide consultation not only with the governments, state governments, with central ministries, state governments, with the academia, but also the involvement of the common people. लोगों से राय ली गई कि आप अपनी शिक्षा नीति में क्या देखना चाहते हैं और इस के आधार पे जो शिक्षा नीति और उसके बड़े रिफॉर्म्स हैं उसमें उच्च शिक्षा में हम 2035 तक 50% GER ग्रॉस एनरोलमेंट रेशियो तक पहुंचेंगे और उसके लिए होलिस्टिक एजुकेशन की नई व्यवस्था लाई जा रही है जिसका सबसे बड़ा अंग है मल्टीपल एंट्री एंड एग्जिट। आज की व्यवस्था में यदि 4 साल इंजीनियरिंग पढ़ने के बाद या 6 सेमेस्टर पढ़ने के बाद किसी कारणवश मैं आगे नहीं पढ़ सकता हूं, तो मेरे पास कोई उपाय नहीं है, मैं आउट ऑफ दिस सिस्टम हो जाता हूं। मल्टीपल एंट्री एंड एग्जिट सिस्टम में ये रहेगा कि 1 साल के बाद सर्टिफिकेट, 2 साल के बाद डिप्लोमा, 3 या 4 साल के डिग्री, यानी और मल्टीपल एंट्री थ्रू एकेडमिक बैंक ऑफ क्रेडिट, जो नीचे बुलेट है कि मेरे जो क्रेडिट फर्स्ट ईयर के हैं, सेकेंड ईयर के हैं, जैसे बैंक के सेविंग अकाउंट होते हैं वैसे ही एकेडमिक क्रेडिट में डिजी लॉकर के माध्यम से हमारे वहाँ पर क्रेडिट रहेंगे, so that in the third year if I want to take a sabbatical for a year, I want to take a break for any reason, family condition or otherwise for some time, and I return after a fixed period, within a fixed period of which will be prescribed by the new Higher Education Commission. If I come back to the education system, I will not be asked to repeat the first and second year. My credits are already there in the academic credit bank. I will utilize those credits for my further education. इसमें ये भी व्यवस्था रहेगी मल्टी और एक्सिट में कि जो 4 साल का डिग्री प्रोग्राम करेंगे, जो आगे रिसर्च में जाना चाहते हैं उनके लिए अलग व्यवस्था डिग्री प्रोग्राम, जो नौकरी में जाना चाहते हैं जैसे हम लोग यहाँ पर हैं तो हम लोग 3 साल के डिग्री प्रोग्राम यथावत पूर्व की भांति रहेंगे, लेकिन 4 ईयर डिग्री प्रोग्राम विथ 1 ईयर MA एंड डायरेक्ट नो MPhil दे कैन गो टू PhD। एक और व्यवस्था जो इसमें की गई है वो ये है कि ये मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी होंगे। आज की जो व्यवस्था है, जब मैंने शिक्षा ग्रहण की थी महोदय, कि फिजिक्स ऑनर्स के साथ केमिस्ट्री, मैथमेटिक्स या जूलॉजी, बॉटनी लिया जा सकता है, उसके साथ फैशनिंग नहीं ली जा सकती। मल्टीपल डिसिप्लिनरी एजुकेशन की जो हम लोग बात कर रहे हैं, में मेजर और माइनर की व्यवस्था हो। मेजर प्रोग्राम जो डिसिप्लिन का है उसके अलावा माइनर प्रोग्राम भी लिए जा सकते हैं। इसका फायदा ये होगा, 2 फायदे इस पूरे सिस्टम के, कि आर्थिक या अन्य कारण से जो लोग ड्रॉप आउट हो जाते हैं वो वापस सिस्टम में आ सकते हैं बिना अपना समय गवाए हुए। जो में रुचि रखते हैं, ऐसे फिजिसिस्ट होते हैं जो कि म्यूजिक में रुचि रखते हैं, लेकिन उसके लिए फॉर्मल उनको कोई व्यवस्था नहीं रहती है। नई व्यवस्था में मेजर और माइनर ये व्यवस्था, व्यक्ति मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी वेल राउंडेड अपने इंटरेस्ट के हिसाब से इंजीनियरिंग और म्यूजिक अगर सीखना चाहता है, अगर वहाँ संस्थानों को मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी बनाया जाएगा, यूनिवर्सिटीज को मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी बनाया जाएगा, वहाँ वो शिक्षा ले सकता है। ग्रेडेड ऑटोनॉमी ऑफ ऑटोनोमस कॉलेजेस, ये आप में से प्राय बहुत लोग अवगत होंगे। 1000 कॉलेजेस हैं, हम संबद्धता प्राप्त एफिलिएटेड कॉलेजेस कहते हैं। किसी किसी विश्वविद्यालय में तो इनकी संख्या 800 तक पहुंच गई, जिसके कारण न केवल गुणवत्ता में गिरावट आती है बल्कि विश्वविद्यालय परीक्षा केंद्र ही बने रहते हैं, लगातार वहां परीक्षा चलती रहती है। ग्रेडेड ऑटोनॉमी की व्यवस्था ये होगी कि उनके एक्रेडिटेशन स्टेटस के आधार पर A+, A, B, उनको अलग अलग एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव और एकेडमिक ऑटोनॉमी और फाइनेंशियल ऑटोनॉमी कॉलेजेस को दी जाएगी। जो A+ है वो ज्यादा ऑटोनॉमी पाएंगे, A वाले उससे कम, और B ग्रेड में जो रहेंगे उनको कहा जाएगा कि आप अपने आप में सुधार लाएं, तब आपको आगे इसमें व्यवस्था कीजिए। नेशनल मिशन ऑन मेंटरिंग, जिसमें जो हमारी फैकल्टी है उसके उन्नयन और जो हमारे छात्र हैं उनको अच्छे मेंटर मिले, उनके एलुमनाई से, उनके टीचर से, इसकी व्यवस्था रहेगी। आज के दिन as of today we have UGC, AICTE, National Council for Teacher Education. There will be single regulator for higher education. एक रेगुलेटर रहेगा जो कि सारे एजुकेशन, हायर एजुकेशन को एक ही रेगुलेटर देखेगा। उसमें अलग अलग एक्रेडिटेशन के लिए, अप्रूवल्स के लिए, फाइनेंसिंग के लिए अलग अलग वर्टिकल रहेंगे, लेकिन एक रेगुलेटर रहेगा। और वो रेगुलेटर सेल्फ डिस्क्लोजर बेस्ड, ऑनलाइन सेल्फ डिस्क्लोजर बेस्ड ट्रांसपेरेंट सिस्टम पे काम करेगा। हर चीज के लिए बार बार इंस्पेक्शन टीम बना के भेजने की जो वर्तमान व्यवस्था है, उसके जगह सेल्फ डिस्क्लोजर बेस्ड व्यवस्था लाई जाएगी। As on date, we have different norms for deemed universities, for the central universities, for different individual standalone institutions. Their new policy says that for reasons of quality, norms will be same and not as per the ownership. चाहे वो डीम्ड यूनिवर्सिटी हो या केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय हो या राज्य विश्वविद्यालय हो, शिक्षा के जो स्टैंडर्ड्स होंगे वो सबके लिए कॉमन होंगे। फी फिक्सेशन पर भी समिति ने जो रिकमेंडेशन की उस विस्तृत उल्लेख पॉलिसी में किया गया है। ब्रॉड रेगुलेटरी फ्रेमवर्क के अधीन फी पर कैप रखा जाएगा। पब्लिक और प्राइवेट दोनों और फिलैंथ्रोपिक पार्टनरशिप भी रहेंगी, लेकिन जैसे मैंने कहा फी फिक्सेशन पर के लिए भी इस पॉलिसी में व्यवस्था की गई है। और जो शुरू से हमारा लक्ष्य रखा है कि जीडीपी का 6% शिक्षा के क्षेत्र में व्यय होना चाहिए। अभी एज ऑन डेट इट इज अराउंड 4.43%, इंक्लूडिंग द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट, सेंटर एंड द स्टेट गवर्नमेंट। दैट we will work together, the central government, state government will work together to achieve 6%. National Research Foundation, इस फाउंडेशन के बारे में आप में से बहुत लोगों ने सुना होगा, उसके बारे में पढ़ा होगा कि वहाँ के रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट्स जो होते हैं वो फाउंडेशन एनएसएफ के माध्यम से स्पॉन्सर होते हैं। हमने उसको थोड़ा सा सरकार ने विस्तृत करके रिसर्च फाउंडेशन, इसमें न केवल साइंस बल्कि सोशल साइंस भी शामिल होगा। और ये नेशनल रिसर्च फाउंडेशन जो बड़े प्रोजेक्ट हैं उनकी फाइनेंसिंग करेगा। समझते हैं कि शिक्षा के साथ रिसर्च में जो हमको आगे आना है, जो रिसर्च, इनोवेशन, पेटेंटिंग, इसमें हम आगे बढ़ सकेंगे। शिक्षा के अंतर्राष्ट्रीयकरण के बारे में पॉलिसी ने विस्तार से चैप्टर 12 में उल्लेख किया है और उल्लेख है कि हम अपने देश के शिक्षा को, कि उच्च शिक्षा को इस स्तर का बनाएंगे कि बाहर के विद्यार्थी हमारे साथ आए और जो एक्सचेंज होते हैं वो देश के उच्च शिक्षण संस्थानों और विदेश के हाई रैंकिंग उच्च शिक्षण संस्थानों के बीच हो। स्टैंड अलोन जो हमारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं उनको मल्टी डिसिप्लिनरी बनाने की ओर हम बढ़ेंगे। टेक्नोलॉजी का व्यापक उपयोग ड्राफ्ट पॉलिसी में भी उल्लेखित था। कोविड के कारण पूर्व से ही व्यापक उपयोग होने लगा है। पॉलिसी में लिखा है कि टेक्नोलॉजी का व्यापक उपयोग होगा विद इक्विटी, यानी हम समावेशी रूप से टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग करेंगे, लेकिन इस प्रकार से करेंगे कि जो हमारे साथी पीछे हैं या जो आर्थिक कारणों से जिनके पास डिवाइस या कनेक्टिविटी में रुकावट है, तो हम उनको साथ लेते हुए आगे बढ़ेंगे। नो चाइल्ड शुड बी लेफ्ट बिहाइंड। टेक्नोलॉजी विल बी यूज्ड बट एवरी चाइल्ड विल बी टेकन ऑन बोर्ड। इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम के बारे में जो विस्तार से चर्चा की गई है, लेकिन सभी भाषाओं पर ध्यान देते हुए जो हमारे इंस्टीट्यूट्स हैं, लैंग्वेज फैकल्टी के रिसर्च जो लैंग्वेज पे होता है, जो क्लासिकल इंस्टीट्यूट है जैसे क्लासिकल तमिल, क्लासिकल तेलुगु, कन्नड़, और जो CIL मैसूर है जिसमें और इंडियन लैंग्वेजेस हैं, उन सब पे ये जोर दिया जाएगा कि जो साइंटिफिक और लिटरेचर है जो अलग अलग भाषाओं का है उसको हम लोग आगे लाएं। और ट्रेडिशनल आर्ट्स, जो आर्ट्स यानी कि उसमें क्राफ्ट भी सम्मिलित है, लोक विद्या जिसको हम कह सकते हैं, जो पीछे कई बार हम लोग मॉडर्नाइज हो आगे बढ़ते हैं लेकिन जो हमारे लोक विद्याएं छूट जाती हैं उनको भी हम आगे ले जाएंगे। और टेक्नोलॉजी का जैसे यूज ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी, इसमें 4 मुख्य है। शिक्षा की जो योजना बनेगी, एजुकेशन प्लानिंग, लर्निंग एंड असेसमेंट, जो समस्याएं आज देखने को आ रही हैं विशेषकर असेसमेंट में, एग्जाम्स के बारे में। टीचिंग, लर्निंग एंड असेसमेंट में हम टेक्नोलॉजी का इस प्रकार उपयोग करेंगे कि सेमेस्टर वाइज, मिड सेमेस्टर वाइज ये टेक्नोलॉजी के उपयोग से 360 डिग्री असेसमेंट होगा। उसका उल्लेख जब स्कूल में आएंगे तो अब हमारे सहकर्मी करेंगी। मैंने पहले भी कहा, एक्सेस टू द डिसएडवांटेज ग्रुप्स, डिसएडवांटेज कुड बी इकोनॉमिकल, डिसएडवांटेज कुड आल्सो बी ड्यू टू डिफरेंटली एबल्ड पर्सन्स। उनके बारे में भी विशेष उल्लेख है कि दिव्यांगजनों के लिए टेक्निक का और टेक्नोलॉजी का उपयोग कर हम कैसे उनको शिक्षा में आगे बढ़ाएंगे। ई कंटेंट इन रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस, कई बार हमारा विशेषकर जो साइंटिफिक इंस्टीट्यूशंस में फोकस पूरी तरह से इंग्लिश पे हो जाता है या कहीं कहीं पे हिंदी पे रहता है, लेकिन जो ई कोर्सेज रहेंगे वो से कम 8 भाषाओं में, ये मंत्री जी ने बीच में ही निर्णय लिया है कि देश की जो प्रमुख 8 भाषाएं हैं, तमिल, तेलुगु, कन्नड़, मलयालम, इधर गुजराती, मराठी और ओडिया, बंगाली, तो इनमें हम ई कोर्सेज डेवलप करेंगे। केवल इंग्लिश हिंदी में नहीं बल्कि रीजनल लैंग्वेजेस में भी ई कोर्स रहेंगे। वर्चुअल लैब्स पर कार्य IIT मद्रास ने शुरू कर दिया है। बहुत से कॉलेजेस में लैब्स नहीं रहते या में लैब की वैसी व्यवस्था नहीं रहती है। आजकल सिमुलेटर टाइप के लैब नई टेक्नोलॉजी में आ गए हैं, उनको ला करके लैब का एक्चुअल फील्ड हैंड ऑन एक्सपीरियंस हम वर्चुअल लैब से कराएंगे। इसके लिए एक नेशनल टेक्नोलॉजी फोरम, कोई अलग से ये ब्यूरोक्रेसी बढ़ाने का नहीं है, लेकिन प्राइवेट सेक्टर, गवर्नमेंट सेक्टर, एजुकेशनिस्ट, टेक्नोलॉजिस्ट, इन सबको एक जगह लाने की यह व्यवस्था होगी। मैं इसके साथ ही अनुरोध करूंगा, स्कूल एजुकेशन के प्रमुख जो रिफॉर्म्स है उस पे सचिव स्कूल शिक्षा बताएंगे।
माननीय मंत्री जी श्री
is it okay? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I would like to share some of the video content which has been released very shortly, which was presented to the cabinet ministers by the committee, particularly about the reforms in higher education in the national education policy. I hope the participants must have gone through already, but even if they have gone through, today the focus is slightly different because we have been talking for the past 3 hours about the higher education and what is the role of a teacher in higher education through this faculty induction program. So must have been very clear now. Particular points which have been made very clear by the speakers there in the video is that there would be no, hereafter there would be no affiliating institutions. This is a good move because affiliation is something which has to be discussed in a wide range, particularly and the participants today 40, I'm sure some of you must have come from the autonomous colleges, some of you must have come from the affiliated colleges, some of you must have come from the universities and so on. So many things must have happened. Just look back, recently I attended a meeting with the director IIT Hyderabad. He was mentioning that the application system was there only in 4 countries in India, Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh. No other countries having affiliating system. He was mentioning that. So what is this graded autonomy and then moving towards non-affiliating system is a very good move by the central government in the sense that the institutions will be given a lot of flexibility to grow on their own. There may be some problems here and there which needs to be addressed, but as a whole, the education system is wide open to the public, wide open to the public.
Sir, or it is not audio not clear, sir. We're not able to hear.
Audio not clear. Okay.
Hello.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Very
clear,
low
sir.
voice coming, sir. Very low voice coming.
లేదండి, it's very clear to me అండి.
Avuna?
Yeah.
Is it audible now? Which is good.
Yeah. Now it is okay, sir. Now it is okay.
Okay. So this is one very important point which has been stated in the committee's recommendations. And the second point which they stated is that there will be merger of all the regulatory bodies like UGC, AICT and so on. And there will be only higher education, only one looking after the entire thing, and several verticals will be there in that. Third important point is usage of technology in the education system. This is also another important thing. Probably we as a participant will be spending a lot of time in our faculty induction program also. How do we make use of the technology? How do we prepare our own e-content? How do we upload our e-content? How to prepare a MOOC course? How to attend or register for an NPTEL course or a MOOC course? How that would be useful? How to reach to the student making use of technology? So this is another important third point which has been mentioned. Little part of the video probably I don't want to show because it's not directly relevant to us. It's about the school education, etc. Our focus is only on the higher education. So I stopped at this stage. However, the link will be shared to all of you. Maybe in the evening at a free time, you can see, including the members of the committee and what are the other major recommendations in the national education policy, etc., can be seen by the participants. So now the time is about 1:20. I hope we shall stop here because our next speaker will be ready by 2 p.m. Today. Okay, so he'll be taking up. Professor B.V. Aparagar will be sharing the screen at 2 p.m. Only thing is, I request all the participants, please keep posting your views, doubts, etc., either in the chat box or in the WhatsApp group, so that this goes for open discussion. It should not be limited only to my talking and you are listening and immediately going for your lunch and come back once again sitting here. It's not like that. It should be. We should create it more and more interactive by making use of the chat box or by entering into a group and keep posting the information. So accordingly, we'll be able to do it. Another small point I thought of telling you is that no, 1 month you should get habituated for this type of lecturing. I'm sure most of you must have been already attending some of the online courses, FDPs, etc. But though some of you are new or beginners, but for this type of online learning, you must get habituated for this. My sincere advice to you is that no, laptop or a computer screen would be ideal because you have to spend more on screen time, maybe about 6 to 6.5 hours a day on screen time. So it would be advisable to go for either laptop or a desktop rather than sitting with the mobile phone. Always that creates a problem for you if you start sitting with a mobile phone. If you have any technical issue with the laptop for some time now, you can just move around without losing the subject content or the lecture content to your mobile, but don't keep it as a primary learning device for you. Okay, so we break here and we thank all of you for listening to me for the past 2 hours. Over to Uma Madam.
Thank you, sir, for sharing your great knowledge. And with this, we are concluding this forenoon session. And participants are requested to take a break for lunch. And I request participants to come back again at 2 p.m. sharp. Thank you.